Hello and welcome to our next episode of Christmas Culture Club. I'm Steve.
And I'm Julie the skeleton. I mean, it's Halloween after all. We got to celebrate somehow. Come on.
So today is a special episode about some of the creepy things that happen at Christmas. And I want to start this off with a little scenario if you're ready. So, in my best Rod Serling voice, picture, if you will, a quiet suburban home in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The sun has gone down on this chilly post-winter solstice evening, and this quiet suburban family is fast asleep, dreaming of coming celebrations, completely unaware of the intruder who has noiselessly, effortlessly made his way into their sanctuary. Dun, dun, dun.
We don't have budget for sound effects, Steve.
Oh,
Just
sorry.
stop.
Okay. How did he enter? Through the window, across the doorsteps, down the chimney, or did he simply appear magically? Dressed in the color of blood, he saunters through their home, looking, but for what? He casually notices some home-baked goodies that have been left out. His gloved hand removes a number of them, slipping most of them into this massive bag that he carries with him. But one he consumes with delight. A mumbled "ho ho" almost silently escapes his lips. He continues to make his way through the home until he spies what he was looking for, a tree. He approaches it, an almost mischievous smile on his face. He hears someone stirring in a room above, a cue for him to leave. But before he does, he reaches into his bag, removes evidence of his intrusion, and places it carefully under the tree. And in a flash, he disappears through the window, out the door, up the chimney, or by magic. Who knows? But rest assured, come morning, everyone in this quiet suburban home, in this quiet suburban neighborhood, will know that they had entered, dun dun dun, the Santa zone.
You missed your calling as a dime store novelist. Like, that was perfect. So dramatic.
And we'll get to that in a minute. So, Julie, what do we mean by a creepy Christmas?
Well, I have to say, you did a great intro, but it's all about oral traditions. You know, it's all written winter holiday traditions, Christian and pagan. So it's not just that one pulled from the other. But much of the Eurocentric traditions came from the UK and Central Europe, Scandinavia, and the Franco-Saxon cultures, where the telling of the solstice stories had become a custom. And as the days grew shorter and the nights grew darker and longer, the stories became spookier. I mean, what else do you have to do? Like, you're sitting by a fire in a hide tent in Northern Europe before the solstice, you're going to scare people. So anyway, the dark entities, the gods, the demons, the ghosts became a regular part of the storytelling, and it meant to explain the seasonal cycles. You know, so like we use the story of Santa, we use the story of all of these creatures that we're going to talk about, the witches, the ghouls, everything else. They're all meant to tell a story when he might not have really been focused on writing at that point. But as Christianity took root, you know, the church adapted a lot of these stories, like they did the Christmas tradition. They replaced the pagan entities with characters that were familiar from within the church. Pagan gods became Christian saints. Demons became devils. Solstice became Christmas. But the dark, creepy stories still remained. When we talk about the idea of creepy Christmas, we can look at about 5 different stories that encompass the concept. So we've got ghost stories, we've got demons, ghouls, and monsters, we've got witches, my favorite, and then the wild hunt.
Okay, so ghost stories. You were talking about the pagan traditions in Christianity. That time of the year, because it's at the darkest, they thought that it was the veil between the world above and the world beyond was at its thinnest. And so they started telling these ghost stories. Well, the British, the English, started adapting these into books. And the most famous of them was written by Charles Dickens, the biggest ghost story of all time, A Christmas Carol. And we talked about that in our first episode. There have been, A Christmas Carol has been recorded over 400 different recordings, either by movie or television or audio recordings. But there have been 400 of them recorded and 200 of them actually in film version. So in that time, Dickens, he was a novelist for short stories and serialized stories that they would write periodically. Every week, these little penny dreadfuls or penny stories came out, and the homes would consume them. Dickens wrote 5 Christmas novellas, of which all of them had ghosts.
Quiz.
What's that?
Answer.
Well, We'll see how people are paying attention. Anyway, but he also wrote more than 24 Christmas stories that were published. Christmas Carol was published in 1843, and over the next decade or more, actually, he wrote these other 20 short stories and a total 5 novellas. But of course, a Christmas Carol is the granddaddy of all the great Christmas ghost stories.
But it's not the only one. So
Yeah.
this one I was not aware of until you brought it up. So Danny the Ghost. And this one has an interesting backstory. So I'm going to talk about this story first, and then we're going to have to post this one on social media and get feedback. Danny the Ghost was a precocious youth who was warned by his grandmother not to eat any of her Christmas cookies until Christmas Day. I want to know what time frame we're talking about. Like, is this like a 24-hour wait period? Or are we talking about like weeks? Because
I'm
Christmas
going to
cookies,
assume he ate them right away.
this is torture. This could be serious torture. So I don't know. I mean, you listen to your grandma no matter what it is, but still. Anyway, being precocious, of course he snuck some. Duh. Maybe all of them. And then he was beaten by his grandmother so severely that he died. Okay, this is pretty intense. This is from South Africa, is like the origin of this story in theory. So now he haunts children, warning them to leave the cookies alone, lest they meet the same fate. So now I have not heard this one before, but I am totally bringing this into my world because I'm kind of a cookie nut. So there's no evidence that this is an actual South African legend. It's fake. It was planted on the internet and promoted via social media.
And it's blown up. I mean, it's become kind of a common story now.
I love that. I mean, I'm totally working it into my vernacular. I'm going to like create some sort of little Danny the Ghost, and be like, don't steal the cookies. Or maybe we can like multicultural this with like a chancla that it's like grandma with the shoe coming at somebody. So, you never know. But anyway, all right. So
Okay.
on to our next.
So the next one it's from Russia, and the story is, and I'm going to mess this up, I know, but it's Sviatki is the pronunciation, I think. It runs actually from the Greek Orthodox Christmas Eve, which is January 7th, until Orthodox Epiphany, which is January 19th. And it's interesting because the term actually means holy, but in practice, it's not so much. So it's a time when the kids dress up like ghosts and demons, and they go around the neighborhood demanding that they be given, little treats and trinkets and things of that nature. And if you do, then you're promised good fortune. And if you don't, you're cursed for the coming year by these little monsters. But it also, so it's a time when culturally there's a belief that the dead can come back and attend familial feasts, and that by custom, at the end of the feast, you don't clear the plates. You leave food on the table and things like that so that your dead ancestors and relatives can partake in the feast before they go back, to the other world until the next Christmas season.
I mean, you think about it. There's so many aspects of this that are in different cultures and have evolved independently, that the same thought process keeps on happening. That we have the whole idea of carolers within Victorian England. And actually before Victorian England, the carolers, that time frame, they're considered fun and, kind of drunkards. If you go back into medieval times, they're actually going around with this same practice, that they're asking for alms, they're asking for forgiveness, or they're asking for goodwill. And depending on the action of whoever is receiving their visit, it changes like what they're going to get for the next year. So it's kind of fascinating to me. And then the whole concept, I don't know, maybe Day of the Dead totally sounds completely very similar, that we're honoring the ancestors, we're honoring the ones that have gone before.
And that's interesting because when I was researching the episode, a lot of these creatures and characters and stories, you're going to talk in a minute about the night folk. There's a lot of similarities, and it's cross-cultural, right? You'll see it in Central Europe. You'll see it. I think a story from Japan that I was reading, there was something like that with their ancestors, and the way that you see these almost simultaneous evolutions of these stories across cultures that had no real contact with one another.
Human nature, we're all looking for a connection with those that have come before. We're
That's
all
true.
looking for kindness in our next season. So it is fascinating to me how these things just kind of seed themselves everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
But
about the night folk?
all right, so Nightfolk, this region is actually Switzerland, Germany, Austria. So again, core area for a lot of kind of Christmas traditions to come from. So it's a solemn procession of lost or doomed souls dressed in black robes or shrouds. Often they aren't seen, they're merely heard moaning or are accompanied by eerie sounds or sweet and strange music, enticing people to follow. I've always loved the concept of sirens, so this is fascinating to me.
Mhm.
It was dangerous to follow them, though. They were not to be impeded. People often just opened their doors and windows to let them pass unless you were to join them. Their nature reflected omens for the coming year. If it was a beautiful song, it meant that it was a good year ahead. If it was chaotic or fearsome, it presented a year of bad omens. So that's kind of fascinating because, again, there's other areas. I think it's Ballantine. I'm not sure. Pagan Irish custom. Open the doors and windows, let the wind come through, clean out the bad spirits, clean out the end of the year. So it's just so interesting to see all this. This one I'm not familiar with, but I'm actually really fascinated by it. Like, again, I love the concept of sirens. So,
Yep. And you'll hear it, and we'll talk in a little bit about the wild hunt. And there's a little bit of a correlation there. Joining, beware that you aren't forced to join the wild hunt or, the night folk
yeah.
in this case.
Okay, so now we're going to go on to one of my husband's favorite, which
Mhm.
I had no knowledge of before I got involved with this man. My husband is not a Christmas lover. He has become one because of me. So he loves Krampus. Absolutely loves Krampus. It's the granddaddy of all the Christmas monsters. I think he's scary as heck. Like, seriously. Like, whoever decided this, I mean, you had some seriously bad acting kids if you needed to create this goat demon that steals kids and shoves them into their sacks. Like, whatever. So the name comes from the German word that means dad and claws together. Germans love smashing words together. Described as a fearsome and furry horned demon who causes mischief and mayhem. He accompanies St. Nicholas on St. Nicholas Eve, which is December 5th, and is also known as Krampusnacht. So, side note, 2027, December 5th, we're going to be in Salzburg, Austria, watching Krampusnacht happen.
Nice.
So there's parades, drums, like all these people create these incredibly intense costumes. There's fire. It's scary. It's really scary. I don't know that I want to go, but I love my husband, so I'm going. So anyway, he appears as a horned, cloven-hoofed, satyr-like beast who carries around a huge basket on his back to capture naughty children, and he tortures them. He swats naughty children with branches and makes terrible noises by dragging along massive chains. Again, tie into Dickens and like the ghosts and ghouls within Dickens, the viewpoint of them. His story predates Christianity, but was incorporated into Christian culture as a symbol of punishment for evil acts. Krampusnacht has become a massive series of celebrations across Europe, and festivities extend from early December into January. It's become people dressed like Krampus. They parade. Typically, it's mostly December 5th is like the really, really big night. And they will do various parades like before and after that time. But they party, debauchery, all the things.
Yeah, it's when I was as I was researching some of these things, I was watching some YouTube videos, and one of them had a Krampusnacht. Several of them had Krampusnacht celebrations, and oh my gosh, it's insane. It's almost like a German version of Mardi Gras. These
A
parades,
naughty Mardi Gras.
very
Like,
very naughty Mardi Gras. Yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah,
there's
no.
debauchery and alcohol and food. I mean,
Mm.
it's it sounds like it'd be a lot of fun, but
I'll report back from the front in 2
we
years.
should
I'll
do a
let you know.
live broadcast.
100%. If we're
There
still
you go.
recording, this thing actually grows legs. We're totally going live from Krampusnacht in Salzburg. So, all right, Steve, your turn. Tell us
Okay,
about
so
St. Nicholas.
this one is there's some historical basis for it. The story is called Saint Nicholas and the Butchered Children, and it's out of Turkey, of course. So we've talked about Saint Nicholas. So Saint Nicholas was a Catholic bishop who was posted in and around Turkey in that general area, and he was known for his kindness and his generosity. He had a number of miracles attributed to him, and this story became legend in that supposedly in one of the villages in the general area where St. Nicholas, at that time Bishop Nicholas, was posted, there was an evil butcher who one day some children came to his shop to try to get him to give them some meat to take back to their family. And he invited them in, and then he killed them. And he pickled them and was going to sell and was selling their meat as ham. And apparently this went on for a while. And Bishop Nicholas heard about it, and he came to the butcher's place of business and discovered these barrels with these children who've been murdered. And he made the sign of the cross and said a prayer and brought these children back to life. And according to the legend, then he basically punished the butcher by making him work for him. And his job in working for Bishop Nicholas then was to punish children still, but gently, by swatting them and things like that. And there's some belief that the legend was basically an offshoot of the Krampus legend,
Oh,
because
okay.
there's some belief that culturally the butcher became Krampus. So there's a little bit of a tie into that. But yeah, it's one of the truly horrifying Christmas story legends.
Yeah. Well,
But you got
there you
kind of
go.
a fun one, Mary Laud.
I had not heard about this one until last year. And I mean, like, I've been digging into Christmas legends for a long time. So Mary Laud, it comes out of Wales, southwestern coast of England now. But they had very independent traditions, and this one is definitely one of the more unique ones that you see out there. So it centers around a group of carolers who travel from village house to house carrying a mare's head on a pole decorated with ribbons and ornaments. I hadn't seen any videos about this one until last year, and I was like, what the heck is going on in this video? So the mare's head is supposed to be representative of a pregnant mare which was residing in the manger where Christ was born and was forced to make way for the Holy Family. So they had to move the mare, in theory, from the barn where Christ was born and put her out into the cold night in Bethlehem. So that's kind of the tie-in. The group proceeds from home to home and knocks on doors, demands to be let in. The custom is for the homeowner to refuse, and a song battle ensues. I'm all about this one. Eventually, the homeowner submits and invites the crowd into the home for refreshments. The carolers then proceed to the next home. Originally, this was thought to have its traditions in pagan solstice customs, but apparently it's not true. Nobody's been able to find the basis for it. So this is one of the starts, though, for the tradition of Christmas caroling within the British Isles. So I don't know, very interesting. The mare's head is definitely different symbolism. It is fascinating. Like, I'm Polish, and we, in theory, don't eat meat on Christmas Eve because we're honoring the animals that were present in the manger with Jesus when he was born. So it's just interesting to see, like, these, again, the seeds that have been planted and are carried through and expressed in different cultures.
Sure. Yeah, there's one that comes out of Bavaria called Bloody Thomas. So Bloody Thomas is an ogre. And somehow there's a connection between Bloody Thomas and Thomas the Unbeliever, one of the apostles of Christ, who required that he see and touch the wounds of Christ to believe that he was the resurrected Christ. But anyway, and I couldn't really grasp the tie-in, but supposedly it's a tie-in. And Thomas, Bloody Thomas, also known as Thomas with a hammer, leaves his forest on Christmas Eve wielding a hammer to punish evil children. To what degree? I don't know, but with a hammer, I wouldn't think it'd be very light. And it's interesting because, like, local farmers, the custom was, well, the other thing was, traditionally in Bavaria, Christmas Eve was the day that the farmers would take some livestock to the market to be slaughtered for the Christmas festivities. And the farmers and the butchers would gather some of the blood that they collected from the slaughtering of the animals and throw it on their boots. And then when the kids were sitting in the house, the farmers or butchers would leave, sneak around to the front door, push the door open, and push their bloody boot, only the bloody boot, into the door for the kids to see, to scare them that if they weren't behaving, Bloody Thomas was going to get them.
I don't need to watch any horror films this year. I just need to re-listen to this episode and be scared.
And
Like,
this is
seriously.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all!
Yeah. So, but
Well,
you've got a couple strangers out of Iceland.
Yeah, so I'm going to Iceland in a few weeks. So I was very excited. I've followed, Iceland has some of the more unique Christmas customs, and I am a big book reader. So I love the concept of Iceland Christmas is celebrated with chocolate and books. Like it's like my perfect day. So anyway, we're going to talk about the Yule Cat, and I cannot pronounce this in Icelandic. Maybe in a couple weeks, we'll record a video of people in Iceland saying Yule Cat, and the 13 Yule Lads is the other one. But anyway, giant feline is once again purposed to be terrifying and punishing towards children. Why? Well, Icelandic custom was that every Christmas, a traditional present for good children was new clothing. The Yule Cat would peek into the family home. If the children weren't dressed in their new Christmas attire, the Yule Cat would know that they had not been good children and punish them. How would they be punished? Well, if their behavior was only mildly poor, it would eat their entire Christmas dinner. However, if they were particularly naughty, it would grab them, carry them off, and eat them. All because their clothes scratched. Icelandic sweaters are scratchy as heck. Wool, scratchy, bad. So these poor kids, because they don't want to wear their ugly jumpers that their moms knit for them, they got carried off and be eaten by a cat? I mean, come on. This is tough. So anyway, all jokes aside, the 13 Yule Lads. So this is actually fun because last year, Iceland Airlines actually did a huge promo for the 13 Yule Lads, that every day they had on their social media, they had different aspects of the 13 Yule Lads because they all have different personalities and different things that they do to each like group of people.
And different days. Each Yule Lad was a different day.
Yeah. So like this was totally social media being used at its like high point. I'll have to see if I can poke around and find the campaign, but it was really fantastic. The 13 Yule Lads were the the 13 Yule Lads were children of two famous Icelandic ogres and were originally thought to have been as many as 82. Like 82, we're probably around, I don't know, like day 60 till Christmas right now, maybe less than that, but 82 days of Christmas, that's a lot. Anyway, they start out as ugly ogre children, making mischief and causing havoc from village to village. But over time, they evolved into merrymakers who assisted Santa with the delivery of presents to good children, while stuffing rotten potatoes into the shoes of naughty boys and girls. FYI, have you ever smelt a rotting potato? It is a smell like none other. So that is just gross and that is terrible. So
if I was going to be punished, I think I'd rather be punished by one of the 13 Yule Lads than the Yule Cat.
Yeah, really. True. According to another variation of the story, each night from December 12th up until Christmas Eve, one lad in particular would sneak into a family home and cause some harmless mischief from eating leftovers, such as eating leftovers, stealing pastries, and eating candles. I don't understand
they ate
that
candles. I saw that and I went, what?
Beeswax, yummy. Today, people dress as the Yule Lads and celebrate with fun and harmless pranks. But then, if you look at this again, where does our current Christmas culture come from? You look at Elf on the Shelf. This sounds strikingly similar to Elf on the Shelf, except you have one elf. And I mean, all the parents out there, God bless your souls, that have to move this elf around every night for 25 days or whatever it is. But the Yule Lads are kind of very similar, and that's how it's been interpreted in modern culture today. Is the thing like Iceland Air that they have a lot of fun with it. So
yeah.
So there you go. All right, you're up.
All right, the next one is the Tomte, or the plural, which is the Tomtar. So, and this is out of Scandinavia. They're also known as barn elves or basement elves, things of that. They're small, elfish creatures, kind of like a gnome, looking like a gnome. They appear as older men and women, little elfish people. You think, oh, sweet and cute little elves, Santa's helpers, la da 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 da. And they hide in the barns, they hide under floorboards. And at Christmas time, there's a custom that you leave out a bowl of warm porridge with a pat of butter on the top for them to guarantee a happy and prosperous Christmas season and into the coming year, that's a lovely, lovely story. Unless you don't set out the porridge, in which case they get mean. They destroy property. They kill your livestock, and they potentially might murder your entire family.
Scandinavians, man.
Yeah, all for a bowl of porridge on Christmas Eve. There's actually a movie that came out, I think it came out this year. It's like one of those cheapy horror comedy things, and it's about that. I've got to see if I can find it. If I do, I'll get the. Yeah, as I was researching this, I went, wait, I saw a trailer for this. I think it's this story. Well, anyway,
Nice.
all right. Last one on the no, there's two more. So
I got the good one.
yeah, let me do the wild hunt then, and then you can finish out this. So the wild hunt, there are so many variations on the wild hunt, right? There's the wild hunt, the pagan tradition, and we talked about this. It's it's a hunt of spectral characters, and they're on a hunt, and they gather up people for the hunt based on how they behaved in life. The pagan culture is started out as Odin riding across the sky, being followed by the other hunters, and he's in a chariot that's being led by reindeer, right? Well, over time, the Norse god, father god, all god Odin started being replaced by different historical characters. Each culture has their own leader of the wild hunt, and it wasn't always flying or being led by reindeer. Sometimes it's a herd of elk. Sometimes it's stallions. In fact, there's one out of England where the wild hunt is led by King Arthur, legendary King Arthur. But the premise is always kind of consistent in that they go looking for loyal citizens to the hunt. You leave them alone and let them pass you by. But if you're evil or have done bad, they gather you into the hunt and require that you become a participant in the wild hunt. And it's one of those strange legends that it's cross cultural. It has different names, but it all kind of comes into that. And it always takes place during or around winter solstice when it's darkest and the veil between our world and the other world is at its thinnest.
All right. So this next one I think is beautiful. I don't actually think it's scary. And I don't know. Anyway, so this comes out of Ukraine. This one is the legend of the Christmas spiders. So sweet, still creepy tradition. I don't find spiders creepy, so we'll just put that out there. Resides a legend of a poor family who brought in a small tree from their property for their Christmas celebration. Sadly, they had no ornaments for their tree, and the children went to bed crying in their poverty. Spiders living in the home took pity on the family and wove beautiful designs out of their cobwebs on the tree. When the children woke in the morning, they were moved to joy-filled tears at the beauty their tree had as it sparkled in the morning light. It is believed that the custom of putting tinsel is derived from this legend. Like, okay, people put pickles on their Christmas trees. Why are we not putting freaking spider webs? Like, I love this story. Like, I get tinsel, but like, I want like a little lace spider web that I'm going to put on a tree.
In Ukraine and around areas around there, you actually can buy spiderweb ornaments, and it's considered to be good luck if, especially I would imagine if you have a live tree, if you discover an actual living spider in your tree, and if you do, you leave it alone and allow it just to reside there. So it really is. It's creepy, but it's really, really sweet.
We're ending on a good note, I have to say,
Yes.
on that one. So now on to the witches, though.
For
Come
monsters and demons and ghouls. The
Yeah.
witches. Okay, so you want to talk about Frau Percha?
Sure. Frau Percha is from Austria and Germany, my known neck of the woods. So her origin is believed to have been a pagan goddess who was bestowed. Let's try this one again. Frau Percha from Austria and Germany. Her origin was as a pagan goddess who bestowed her blessings on her followers. But around the beginning of the 13th century, the Catholic Church, unhappy with the veneration of a deity that was outside of Christian beliefs, began to change her story to that of a dark winter witch. The dark winter witch, Frau Percha, was always accompanied by demons and evil spirits. She was renamed the Belly Slitter. She would slit the bellies of people who wouldn't leave her oatmeal, again the porridge, and fill their bellies with straw. In the revisionist story of Percha, she is seen as a crone, bent and twisted with a wart-laden and pointy nose. So again, old women are terrible. They're going to come get you and slit your belly. There's a lot to be said about this one, but we're going to leave it alone. Oh, Frau Percha, she's scary. Don't piss her off. Leave her good oatmeal.
Yeah, and I think Epcot in the German pavilion actually does the Frau Percha story. And there are other tie-ins, but the big thing was the belly slitter, which is like, she was supposed to have been this beautiful goddess and all, and they evolved her. You think about things like Snow White and the queen turning into the crone, and it's interesting. So from Italy, there's the story of La Befana, I think it's how it's pronounced, and it takes place on the feast of the Epiphany, which is January 5th. And she's actually a kind witch. She's sweet person. She leaves sweets and presents in the homes for good children. And while the bad children don't get eaten, they get left lumps of coal or garlic or onions. And she rides
To be
around on a
Italian, that's
broom.
a good thing.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you like to cook, hey, we got some garlic. But yeah, she rides around on a broom and she's seen as being covered in soot from going down the chimney to leave these presents. So, another tie-in. Santa goes down the chimney. He rides around.
Does she predate Santa? I mean, the Italian Santa is not very important,
No.
but I think this is actually a big deal. So I follow a couple Instagram people from Italy, and one is specifically an American who has moved to Italy. He's been there for, I think, 5 or 6 years. And last year I caught her in the middle of Florence waiting for La Befana,
Yeah,
and it
well,
was really big.
so the origin comes from there's different variations of the story, but apparently during the time of Christ, she was a homekeeper, and the three wise men, the three kings, came to her to ask her if she knew where the location of the Christ child was.
Uh,
And in one story, she gives them some food and then sends them on the way. And the other story, she's too busy cleaning her home and she sends them on the way. But after they leave, she starts to reconsider this because they tell her that they're seeking the Savior. And she goes looking for the Christ child. And so the story is that it's the perpetual search for the Christ child that causes her to leave presents for the good children as she's seeking him.
okay, cool. Well, at
So,
least we end on a positive note.
yeah,
I like this.
creepy but sweet note. Okay, so
Yeah.
two quick quiz questions. The first one I kind of gave it away, but how many Christmas novellas did Charles Dickens write that contained ghosts? Five novellas. There were 22 Christmas stories, and about a third to a half of them had some sort of supernatural thing. And did we talk about this at the beginning? How many spirits did Scrooge Okay, so in the story Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, Dickens sees several spirits. How many spirits does Scrooge see?
Spirits,
Ghosts. Yeah.
ghosts, 4.
And that's the commonly held belief, right? Marley, Ghost of Christmas Past, Christmas Present, Christmas Yet to Come. But in the book, as Scrooge has gone into his home and he's climbing the stairs to go up to his part of the house where he lived, he sees a ghostly carriage, a funeral carriage, being led up his stairwell with a spirit driver and a coffin. And we're, I think, to presume that the coffin is containing the ghost body of Marley. But yeah, so 4 that are named and potentially one that's just out there setting the scene.
Fair enough. All right, there you go.
So that's our creepy Christmas at Halloween.
Well,
What do
hopefully
you
it
got
gets
coming up?
everybody. Yeah. So coming up, I feel like the floodgates open after Halloween. So we got a couple days to get through, and then it is, to me, I want to wait until Thanksgiving. We talked about this in our intro episode. Like, I am a do not do anything Christmas other than maybe shop until Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving. But whatever. Christmas decorations have been up for 3 months already in stores. But now it's time to start prepping. So we're going to start talking about how to host a really amazing Christmas party, holiday office party, whatever it may be, in order to help you not lose your mind, not lose your budget, and have fun along the way. We're going to talk about some professional decorating tricks, sorry. So we're going to go over that, but we've got so much to come up. We're going to talk about Christmas music soon, the good, bad, and the ugly. So this is going to be a very contentious episode.
Yes, because I'm going to put Elmer Fudd doing Blue Christmas.
No, kill me now. Kill me now. So anyway, on that note, we're going to end it. I hope you have a great Halloween. I hope it's spooky. I hope you talk about La Befana or any of the, what was it, Danny the
Danny the
ghost,
Ghost.
and weave him into your Halloween celebrations. But I'm Julie.
I'm Steve.
Thank you so much for listening.
And happy Halloween.